Okay, so now what I want to do is just sort of talk to you about how I began writing the essay and sort of show you how to achieve a more sophisticated and complex analysis. Let's see. I want to go back quickly though. Let's go to this essential handouts again. Um, Again, I know I keep saying it, but I'm just very worried about the way you're using tools during your writing process. Now, you have the ability to use your open notes. You just need to print this stuff. In the face-to-face setting, they have a packet of these things that they are allowed to use while they are writing their essays. It's the only thing they use during the writing process. So let's just go through and I'll tell you what they are and how to use them. Now, these two are two essays that I shared with you during Unit 2 towards the beginning when one of them you had to do a Tolman analysis of, claims, commentary, evidence, that kind of thing. And then the other was in a Nearpod, and you had to consider the strategies I was using to analyze it chronologically. So both of these exemplars are written in chronological order, and I have gone above and beyond modeling how to do things like integrate source material, discuss diction, discuss imagery, um, provide commentary that answers why the author uses it and how it should affect the audience. So these I've worked to kind of just model as many skills as I possibly can, and you're welcome to use these to model your work after. Those of you who are using them, I can tell, and your writing is becoming much more mature, and it's just continuing to improve. And so that's another thing I just want to remind you of. I know that sometimes you feel frustrated because you hang out in these scores, that you don't like, and you get really frustrated by it. I know you do. And so the thing is, you got to kind of steadily try to improve by, taking in this feedback and really trying to apply it just on your own. The more you get cocky about your own reading, the more you can go in there and just own it and not let that inner critic talk you into going and looking something up on the internet or contacting a friend. The more you can resist that inner critic, the stronger you're going to be as well. We all have inner critics inside, especially when we're writing. And when you connect it to a grade, I know what's happening to lead you towards some of these dishonest choices. And I want you to really reflect on what you're losing out on. Because every time you don't try to independently apply these skills and just do it, just kind of let it come out of you as boldly as you can, then you're not building that muscle and you're going to continue to reinforce an insecurity. You don't want to do that. Writing is about boldness. Writing is about, you be as cocky as you want to be, and you got to bring the grits, though. You've got to bring that evidence. You've got to bring that developed, complex commentary. And that's the part that all the writing is getting you to learn to do. Okay. So, again, my big thing about these kinds of writing things is I just go in there and I think about myself kind of like I can read well. I'm going to access this purpose and I'm going to get this thing done. And I don't think anything otherwise. And if something starts to happen in my head where I get a little insecure, I just try to put it out of my head, or I go back to that jot outline or that thesis paragraph, or if I'm within a body paragraph, that topic sentence, and making sure I'm trying to approve it. Because I just want that critic to go away. Now, these are sentence stems, which are very helpful. If you're struggling with commentary and you're getting low scores on commentary, have this out. Use these stems So, no, right when you integrate evidence that you're struggling with commentary, you know that. You know if you are. So, use these stems to help you get that commentary more developed. Um, Here's some rhetorically accurate action verbs. A lot of you are using them. Some of you don't use them as effectively. You kind of pick words that are awkward. So, you want to make sure you're not choosing words that affect your meaning. Here are words to describe tone. Again, I want to caution you tone. You would be better served to talk of tone as as like a result of a strategy than you would be talking about the tone as a whole. Like some of you are like building whole paragraphs around tone. And what you're doing is you're kind of writing yourself into a hole and you're only focusing on this one small part. And it sort of starts to move you away from that complex purpose. So I often like to talk about tone more as a result of and less as a strategy itself. Now, of course, in the Gandhi piece at the end, when he starts getting really kind, I'm not, he's kind throughout. So you could talk about that kind tone and how it helps build that bridge and all, but there's only so much you can say about that. Here are some words to describe diction. Again, you need to be careful about the way you choose your words. Like some of you are called Gandhi passive aggressive, and there's nothing passive about his letter, nor is it aggressive. So you want to, and I've tried to say this before, but stop using passive aggressive. A lot of times you guys just aren't using it in a mature way, and it just immediately marks your writing as immature. Um, so be careful. Guys, pedantic Gandhi is not pedantic. A lot of you chose that one too. A pedant is a person who's just obsessed with rules. Like, or have you ever had a teacher that if you say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" and she says, "I don't know, can you?" Well, she might be pedantic in her response to your request because she's trying to fix your grammar. That's pedantic. Um, Didactic, it's very rule oriented and focused. It almost reminds me of how the Puritans are about, especially like if you were to read like a sermon, which we'll read next semester from a Puritan preacher. They're very scary. It's very much like this is the only way to do it. This is the only right way, and that is didactic. So some tone words you might want to start to get to know a little bit more. It's even something you could do. There's all kinds of Quizlets online you can find to learn more AP tone words because they actually are all over the multiple choice. It's good to have a developed tone word vocabulary. But and also syntax. There's words to describe syntax. If you're talking about syntax, you've got to do a better job, a lot of you, of the analysis. You've got to start considering how the syntax mirrors purpose. Syntax works to mirror. So you've got to be able to talk about that. Um, and in some of these review materials here, I have paragraph exemplars. And these all come from a poetry unit I did a couple of years ago, but every student had to walk through the process of doing imagery, diction, all that sort of thing. So these are some really strong examples of how to write about those four big ideas and how to do it effectively. So definitely that would be something to look at if you are working to study for your. Okay. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to tell you what was there if you didn't realize it. Um, did they say I say sentence stems or just other stems to help you get into the text? And then here's that thesis paragraph strategy or other stems to help you with your commentary or even introducing evidence. There's all kinds of really interesting stems here that can just help you find your words. Okay. So here is my first body paragraph. I haven't finished it, but I'm going to walk you through a little bit. Now, the very first thing I do, because I'm really big on grounding my mind, I'm really big on being strategic when writing this, because I have to make my logic the most important part. I have to have my own line of reasoning. While I'm analyzing Gandhi's line of reasoning, I have to develop my own line of reasoning. And I do that by having some very specific things that I make sure I do. Okay. So here I've decided that that first section is all about kind of defining non-cooperation and sort of explaining why it has become his ultimate choice of reaction to the British colonialism. So here's my big topic sentence. I'm not introducing evidence yet. In the first part of his conclusion, Gandhi works to define the meaning of non cooperation as it relates to the Indian population's desire to gain its independence. So, there, that's just something that's going to ground me. So, as I'm writing, anytime I get stuck, I kind of go back and I check. Am I proving that? Is there something I need to say? Where can I bring my mind to get focused and keep writing? Now, then I start to move into introducing my evidence. He begins building this definition by a carefully chosen series of words, some positive and some negative, to highlight why a colonized nation would choose to fight its oppressor despite their lack of physical weapons and material wealth. Now, I'm kind of inferring that just a little bit, just because I do have some background knowledge of this particular time in history. And it is kind of heroic what the Indian nation did in response to the British nation. And they did experience a huge amount of loss, of maltreatment. It's really sad to consider all that they had to endure to gain their independence. So I am aware of that. So some of my inferences comes from that, but notice that I'm grounded in the text and I'm not going off on a tangent and starting to just reflect on those things. Okay. Now, because I've said that he uses words, some negative and some positive, I want to get more specific. I need my reader to understand what I'm talking about there. So, Gandhi by a charged diction. And if you don't know what a charged words or charged diction is, just think about the Declaration of Independence. Think about all of your American Revolution texts. They use charged words against the British throughout. The British are enslaving us. We are chained. They are evil. And he's doing the exact same thing. I mean, literally, this is kind of like the Declaration of Independence, just at a different time and in a different style. So, when choosing your diction words, you do need to be careful because if you're choosing broad terms like powerful, um, how do you describe that they're powerful? You want to choose a word that's real specific that almost helps you explain it in and of itself. So, via charged diction asserts that the British have preyed upon the Indian people, a people who are larger in number and older in years. And I get that directly from the text because Gandhi says, um, conversion of a nation that has consciously or unconsciously preyed upon another far more numerous, far more ancient, and no less cultured than itself. And so Gandhi is really trying to establish from the very beginning how equal they are, that the British are no better. So why then have the British come in to prey? So that is where, or prey upon them. So, I'm kind of trying to play around with some of that here. Um, Let's see, he works to establish the British as the evildoer in the situation. In turn, Gandhi posits the Indian masses against this evildoer and underlines why he chooses to lead them into the mad risk of exposing the truth of the British rule. This juxtaposition of an evil nation exploiting the poor of an ancient nation pushes the viceroy to reflect upon this image, the image of the colonial beast working against the poor. Gandhi's ultimate goal is to convert the entire relationship between the two nations to one of more equality, one where both nations work to serve the other. the concept of conversion and servitude receive a large amount of attention from Gandhi here because he is working to achieve two things: emphasize the inhumane treatment heaped upon the Indian nation by the British, as well as to juxtapose a more peaceful vision of serving one another against that of the blah, blah. And I stopped there. I'm going to pause just for a second. I have a